How do you get a name like Larch, and is it to do with a tree?
It is to do with the tree. When I was a kid, I just had an incredible love of nature, and I ended up learning about climate change in 1994 on my master's, and I took a year out of my master's to live up a tree as part of an anti-roads campaign in the 90s. You might remember that, because it was obvious to me even in 94 that the science said this is the biggest threat we face. So I took a year, lived there up in a road camp, up in trees, and got a name, and it stuck. So Larch became my name.
I particularly like larch trees.
Because I'm named after a tree. I'm Ash.
Me too.
Yeah, you are.
Me too.
Yeah,
Great,
I
aren't
used to
they?
climb the ash tree.
Yeah, they're
Larch.
the only deciduous conifer
That loses its leaves.
That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what deciduous means, by the way.
Deciduous.
I just said that in case
Very
you didn't
good.
know, Ash. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
that.
So, right, Larch, you're really annoying the majority of people in the country with this protest, and like your roads protest, it's not going to have much effect. So, why do it?
I mean, it's very different to the roads protest, and as you say, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've failed, and I'm really sorry that I've failed because emissions have more than doubled in that time. On my watch, when I've known this as a crisis, and I've seen it hurtling towards us, and we're now at the brink, on the edge of the cliff. We've got just a few months, according to the UN General Secretary, to turn it around.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, Larch.
Yeah.
This is complete rubbish.
Which
And
bit?
you know that, the whole lot of it. We're not
Do you
on
not
the
believe in
press.
climate change?
Well, of course, climate's always changed. Climate change,
No,
and I believe...
That's a climate denier's language. Climate always changes. We're in the sixth mass extinction.
Rubbish.
We're facing societal collapse. This is the UN General Secretary.
Absolute rubbish, and the United Nations are not without their critics either, trust me.
A lot of critics.
So are you saying you know better than the world's top scientists?
Yeah, probably. Which top scientists do you want to talk about?
Sorry?
Which top scientist are you thinking of?
Well, James Hansen is probably a pretty good one. Kevin Anderson, you know, there's just...
And what do they say?
Well, they say that if we look at the record, we've got ice core samples, we've got lake sediment samples, we've got rock, we've got all sorts of ways of analysing the geological and
what is that? And what does it all point to?
And it says when we have above 350 parts per million in the atmosphere, we have a significantly hotter and more unstable climate, one that actually is not suitable for civilization. That's what the science says.
Well, then we'll all go together, won't we?
350 parts per million. Well, that's a very easy thing to say, but we won't, and it'll be brutal. If you've got people you love,
listen,
you don't want to watch them.
Look, you're talking rubbish. You're using emotive language. If actually the facts were on your side, no government on this planet would allow us to continue flying or continue driving or continue doing anything that was likely to... So what I'm telling you is you're talking rubbish.
No, you would think so, wouldn't you? This should be on the news. This is why I'm taking the time to come and speak to you. Even though I've just had my finger snapped and I've just come out of the A&E, I'm taking the time to speak to you because it's that desperate. I'm in pain. I should just have a lie down and get an early night. But
go and have a lie down and an early night and give us all a break.
Well, hang on.
I mean, for goodness sake, this isn't going to do anything. You're annoying people. That's all you're doing. Yeah, you and all the people who are on the streets and the same kind of people who demonstrated about too many roads, about nuclear fusion and nuclear weapons and everything else. You're just making life a misery for a lot of people. The climate is changing and will change. Mankind has affected it, obviously. Everything affects the climate. And if the climate changes and we can't inhabit the Earth anymore, there's not a lot we're going to do about it now.
There is. It's such an irresponsible thing that you're saying. I'm with all due respect, and I don't want to offend you or upset you, but the next few months are critical to the survival of our nation and the survival of our species.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. I'll tell you what. In that time,
listen to
let's
David
see if
Attenborough. Do you think David Attenborough is a fool? No, he's saying civilization is at risk. We need to take action. The next few months are critical. We do make a difference in everything we do, and what we need is system change. We need a different political system.
But it won't happen. What you're talking about is a revolution.
No, we've got a 3 demands bill, which is in Parliament now. Anyone listening to this, they can contact their MP and ask them to sign up to the 3 demands bill. It's the solution out of it.
Well, let's give it. What are the 3 demands then?
ordinary people in the Citizens' Assembly like us will find the pathway to going zero carbon by 2025.
Well, Citizens' Assembly is a waste of time. It'll be like a parish council. You get the same sort of people putting themselves to be on it and trying to enforce their views on everyone else. So forget that one. What's next?
No, it's not at all. In Ireland, we saw that the equal marriage law, the blasphemy law, and the abortion law all came through because of Citizens' Assembly. Citizens' Assembly is ordinary people. If you don't trust your listeners, then you shouldn't be, speaking to them. Those are the people.
Oh, for goodness sake, get a life, will you? Don't you dare talk down to me. Listen, how are you going to make governments listen to what you're saying? How are you going to make governments who produce more and more carbon emissions, how are you going to stop it?
Because what we need, that's our demand, is that the Citizens' Assembly, Parliament be led by a Citizens' Assembly.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen.
If you've only got a few months, it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah.
You may as well,
well, you could give up, but I'm not giving up.
Well, you're not going to make it in a few months, are you?
And
Dave Attenborough, he's done more air miles than any other human.
He has done a lot of air miles.
I think that's not true. I think you'll find that the wealthy elite that own, five men own most of the, more wealth than most of the population. They do a lot more flying than David. Now, it's not to justify flying at all, but, actually, we don't blame and shame is one of our principles and values. I think we need to all pull together now, like the Blitz spirit. We can do this. We're incredible what we can achieve when we pull together. The first demand is that we tell the truth, and that the government uses all of its power at its disposal to raise awareness of the public. Most people haven't even heard of climate lag or the global dimming effect, for example. These things mean that we're actually committed to serious heating, and it means that the biggest health threat we face is climate change. That's why doctors are now joining Extinction Rebellion. Nurses are joining Extinction Rebellion. There are thousands of people on the streets in London tonight.
Actually, I had a little wander round earlier, and there aren't that many people there.
I promise you, I'm looking at them now.
There was a couple of celebrities, and celebrities should know better.
Why are you belittling it? What's your issue there?
Just because you're an annoying so-and-so, actually, and I think the majority of people are more and more annoyed by what you're doing. If, you're really... Listen to me, you've had a long say.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
If you were actually talking truth, we wouldn't be driving or flying. Don't for one moment assume that governments and people in governments are stupid. Yeah. They're just ordinary people who get into those positions. And if they well, I do. I know loads of stupid people. If the world was going to end or it was going to tip over the cliff, as you put it, in the next 2 months, we wouldn't be...
Few months.
You said a couple.
5, 6. Well, how much is it?
How many?
6, 7.
The UN General Secretary says 12 months. We've got 12 months.
Well, what does the UN General Secretary know? The UN has made a lot of mess in various parts of the world. Yeah.
What he knows is that he is the head of the IPCC. He is it reports to him. Right. He gets the science before anyone else. I think if anyone knows, he knows. Now, he's in a very responsible position. He's not going to say...
I'm sorry, mate, but Larch, look, if this was really going on, these scientists that you all keep talking about, then they would have put their points of view to governments around the world who would have had it looked into and checked. And if it was such a dire...
25 years or more. I personally have been...
You're just annoying. You're just annoying, sitting in trees, going on about stuff. Look, if there was something...
I've worked in academia for 25 years, and I've done that
for you.
Contacting the government. They're influenced by lobbyists. The fossil fuel lobby is the most powerful lobby that humanity has ever created, and unfortunately it's chosen to block the science and to block the change. But the change is coming now. Everyone can see that the climate is breaking down. We look around, the Amazon's on fire, the Arctic's on fire, Africa has been on fire.
Well, the Arctic, listen, let's take the Arctic first of all, okay? Yeah. The Arctic wasn't always there, and it will disappear. The sea level wasn't where it is now. It will go up and eventually go down again. These things have always changed.
Now, you're talking about geological processes. Absolutely. I'm a geographer, so I work very closely with geologists. Now, those geological processes happen over large periods of time. What we have done as one species, we've injected into the global system in a very short period, 25 years, we've put 60% of all the CO2 in the atmosphere. It's not on a it's a different kettle of fish. You cannot compare. You have to compare like with like. What we are doing now is more rapid than the late Permian. You know about the late Permian extinction when 97% of all life was wiped out on this planet? Changes we've introduced to the atmosphere are faster than what led to the late Permian extinction. That's the level of change that we've introduced as a species.
Well, I imagine that mankind is very adaptive, and whatever the climate throws
Exactly,
at us,
so
we
not
will
too late.
adapt.
Exactly. So we all need to pull together now. It's not too late. We can make it.
No, we all need to pull together, as far as you're concerned, in your way.
It's a way that, no, I don't want to control it. I want a citizens' assembly, the ordinary people, your listeners, to be on a citizens' assembly.
A citizens'
people, bricklayers, florists, bus
Don't
drivers.
patronise people who are not as well educated or think, you know. Being a scientist and
But what are you going to say in a year? Like, say that it hasn't happened, all this change that you think has to happen. What would you be doing in a year?
well, hang on. Will you come on and apologise profusely?
That's a really good question. In a year's time, if we do not have these changes, then we will be seeing having a different conversation, because it will be like, wow, how many people died this summer in the UK because of these changes? 250 people died last summer because of the drought. How many are going to die next year?
Oh, shut up! You're being ridiculous now. People die every year for
this
some
country.
No, he's talking ridiculous stuff.
250 people
Trying to frighten people for no reason at all.
in this country.
In the drought, it was reported in the press. In the drought,
They couldn't
last
get water.
year, in the UK,
250 people died because there was a drought in the
Because they couldn't
UK.
get water.
Just do a search on it. Just search it. It was in the press. It was reported.
Oh well,
Why didn't they just go down the shop and buy a bottle of, or get some water, turn a tap on?
Now that's belittling to those.
Well, no, but
250
who's
people.
drowned? Who's had a
Don't treat them like they're
Who's died of thirst in this country? Which are 250 people?
Sorry, what?
You're saying 250 people died of lack of water?
No, I did not say that. I said the government statistical office.
You said
that
drought.
During the drought.
You said drought.
You said 250 people died of drought.
But what happened in the drought was we had heat above the seasonal average. People were heat stressed. Older people.
Oh no! Oh, I see. So they died older.
Of heat stroke.
All sorts of different reasons. You asked the government.
But you said drought.
Yeah, you
Where
did
they
say
get the
drought.
figures
You're
from.
talking rubbish. I'm sorry, you're talking rubbish. People die every year from the cold. They die from the heat. Unfortunately,
And the
they die from
statistical office
cancer.
can
Yeah, all right, okay, calm yourself.
They die because they can't put the heating on. That's the irony of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Because they can't afford to
so-
put it on because of the taxes.
So
we
in
were
a-
50% down in our staple crops throughout Europe last year. If we have 3 more summers like that, we're talking about food shortages in Europe. The bread baskets of the world
hang
have
on,
suffered
hang on.
massive drops in.
Just hang on. Is it happening in 3 years or is it happening in 6 months? You said it was going to happen any moment when we first started this
It's a complex
conversation.
system. I'm just taking
Oh, it's complex, right.
The food shortages, right? We're facing a risk of food shortages.
What's going to happen this winter? Is it going to be warmer this winter?
Are you aware that
Is it going to be warmer this winter?
Our yields of our staple foods.
Is
Are
it
you
going
aware
to
of
be
that?
warmer this winter?
I'm not, I haven't got a magic crystal
Oh, right,
ball.
okay.
But we can look at the science and we can say every year, the last 10 years has broken the record.
Let me ask
every
you
year
this.
It gets hotter. So we know
If-
that. That's
yeah.
what's happening now.
If people are not interested and want to just get on with their lives and don't believe a word of what you're saying, and I had a look at
a very
it.
small minority of people now. 80% of people now recognise we have a climate and ecological emergency.
No,
and
they
most
don't.
of them say we need urgent action to address it.
Well,
Most
why
people-
aren't they all out on the street with you?
We've seen.
Why aren't they out on the street with
they're
you?
joining us in their droves. That's why we're
You
still there.
talk
Why haven't
rubbish.
There's hundreds of thousands of people.
There
that
are not
signed up.
hundreds of thousands of people. There's a couple of thousand down at Trafalgar Square earlier.
I said have signed up to our newsletter. Hundreds of thousands of people are following us on Twitter, signed up to our newsletter, and are getting on board.
Millions of people follow Eamon on Twitter, so I don't really think that's going to work too much.
Because he's a beautiful man. Everyone loves him.
Well, that's the first sensible thing you've said.
I had a great chat with him a few weeks back. I think he's great.
Well,
I'm sure he's just say anything that makes people feel good.
Oh, I thought you liked him.
He's one of my best friends.
Good.
But he'll still say anything that makes people feel good. I, on the other hand, think you're talking rubbish. And the sooner you get off the streets and allow people to get on with their lives, the
So
better.
on what basis are you saying that?
On the same basis you're saying everything.
I read.
You
People
are
could be dying of heart. They can't get emergency vehicles through, can they?
Yeah, we told the police months ago that we're going to do this.
But you still blocked arteries of London. It's still going to affect things, isn't
You wouldn't want to stop the marathon because it blocks London, would you?
I think they should actually.
Yeah, I do. I think the marathon's a waste of time, money, and effort. Yeah.
What are you, killjoys or what?
Do it on a Sunday. Have your demonstration on a Sunday. That would be fine. Yeah. That's when the marathon is. Do it on a Sunday. I've got no problem with that at all.
We will be here on Sunday, and every one of your listeners is welcome to join us. We'll be here.
I might come because I did enjoy the one. I did like the Waterloo Bridge one.
Did you? Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah, come down.
I might do.
Have a chat.
It
doesn't mean I support you, though. I just want a good time.
Larch. Just tell your friends to go home and everything will be fine, okay? And then you can ring radio stations and TV.
And not true.
Go home, Larch. Go home.
Okay, here's a question.
Go home.
How have you got the time to do it as well? I mean,
I've packed up both my jobs to do this full time because we've only got months left.
Hang on, who's paying? Oh, you just said we've only got months again when you've just said it could be years.
12 months.
Right.
Months, isn't it?
12 months' time, you'll have to come and apologise to everybody because nothing will have changed.
I'm happy to come back in 12 months' time and have this conversation with you. We'll see where we're at. I'm happy to apologise when I make mistakes, absolutely.
Okay. What about the people who are losing money because of what you're doing? What about those people on very low incomes who are losing money because of what you're doing?
So the people that stand to lose most from this are the people on low incomes. 1,000 children die today because of climate change. 1,000 children will die tomorrow because of climate change. Yep. Every single day, 1,000 children die already.
Larch,
they're poor kids.
You're just talking rubbish again.
Hang on,
you're
that's
just
the UN figures.
Simplifying.
That's the UN figures. No, that's the UN figures from 10 years ago. So those figures have to have gone up by now because the crisis has escalated.
Unfortunately,
we
live in a planet which could easily feed people 3 times over and doesn't. We live in a planet where there are wars going on which shouldn't be. We live in a planet where a lot of people don't sort of conform to what is perhaps the best way.
Well, if everyone cared so much, why is there a bottled water industry? You know, why do people buy bottled water everywhere? Most people.
I've got no idea. You ask me. I'm not a marketing expert or a psychology expert. But the point is,
some of your demonstrators will probably have bottled water with them as well.
That's a ridiculous argument. Everyone is welcome to join this rebellion. Whatever you do, you know, if you're a pilot of an airplane, if you sell bottled water, if you're in the army or in the police, whatever you do, we welcome you. Join this rebellion. It's everyone's future is at stake. So it doesn't matter.
And you can fly in a first-class cabin like Diane Emma Thompson.
It's too late for personal change to save us. We need system change.
I have to go and be a capitalist and play some commercials now, Larch. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry, you know, I just think this is complete rubbish and scaremongering. You know, the planet is...
It's a tax ruse.
What? How's it a tax ruse?
How much tax has been raised by governments all over the world? Trillions. By putting tax on your fuel, tax on this, because it's green. That's what it is.
I still think if there was a real problem, the governments of this world are not stupid. The idea that these people want to actually change the way we live our lives, they want unelected people in citizens' assemblies. Or they might be elected, I don't know, but it'll be like parish councils and local councils. You get all the people who've got nothing better to do.
Well, look at Parliament. I mean, that's just the worst advert for these sort of councils.
Benevolent dictatorship is the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.